I had to at least try it, and I had to show everybody and prove to everybody that I was capable of it.
The Air Force pilot who's now flying again after losing a leg. An inspirational story for so many on This American Morning.
From the CNN Broadcast Center in New York, this is American Morning.
He is a Gulf War veteran whose military duties once included flying Air Force 2, and now after being grounded by the loss of a limb, this pilot is now soaring again, and how? His story this morning now from the Pentagon and Barbara Starr.
It's been 6 years since Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Andrew LaRake climbed into the cockpit. LaRake is making aviation history, the first U.S. Air Force pilot to fly with an above-the-knee amputation. Watching intently, young soldiers wounded in Iraq, now fellow amputees. With advanced prosthetics, LaRake wears a leg driven by computer technology. Today's military amputees have a better chance of staying on duty. LaRake convinced his medical board to let him try.
I'm just tenacious, I guess. I had to at least try it, and I had to show everybody and prove to everybody that I was capable of it.
But how does LaRake feel the pedals of the airplane? He bounces 3 times on his artificial limb, signaling the computer to better hold his artificial leg in a bent position. Then he pushes against the pedal. Even after working for months to regain his strength, LaRake reminds today's vets it's a tough road.
There were dark moments for me as well. You're not whole anymore, so you get depression sets in. Drugs and pain do some really weird things to your mind.
But he is showing the wounded from Iraq what is possible.
Military DoD careers are not over with limb loss now. If you can prove yourself and prove that you can do the job.
Now, celebration, congratulations, and a second chance at the flying career he loves for Lieutenant Colonel Andrew LaRake. Barbara Starr, CNN, the Pentagon.
And this morning I'm honored to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Andrew LaRake to American Morning. Colonel, thanks for your time and good morning to you.
Bill, good morning.
Welcome
to Andrews.
There are so many fascinating things about your story. This is just one of them, 17 surgeries. It's my understanding that you concluded, based on your own research, the only chance you would have to fly again is if you amputated your own leg above the knee. How did you conclude that, Colonel?
Well, the only choice that I had after all the surgeries I had was to either fuse it, because the total knee joints that they'd put in kept failing. So if I wanted to get back in the cockpit, I had to have a leg that bent, and the only way to do that was with the prosthetic. And I did a lot of research to find out what technology was available, and recently to the market at that point was a leg called the C-Leg, made by the Ottobock company, and it essentially enables above-knee amputees to live a very normal life and to do a lot of things that normal prosthetics can't.
What does flying mean to you, to go to these lengths?
I've wanted to do it since I was a kid, and it was part of my makeup. The Air Force had trained me, and they spent a lot of money on me, so I wanted to make sure that I could do everything that I possibly could to pay them back.
You mentioned in the story with Barbara Starr that drugs and pain can play tricks on your mind. Did you have dark days, and if so, how did you overcome them?
Oh, absolutely. The dark days, I had a lot of them. The drugs and the pain do some really crazy things to your mind. The way I essentially got over it was all the support from all my family, friends, and coworkers. They are truly the stars of this story that enabled me to essentially get over everything that I'd gone through and return to the cockpit.
Now, I also understand you visit injured veterans quite often at Walter Reed Medical Center there in the D.C. area. Do they give you strength, or what do you get out of those visits, Colonel?
They give me incredible strength. I am truly a proud American to be able to go and talk to wounded that have come back. It gives me a lot more than I'm sure it gives them. It means a lot for me as an American, as a DOD employee, a fellow soldier, so to speak, to go there and show them that life's not over, that life's very normal as soon as they get out of that pain and from those drugs.
I understand you got a pretty wicked sense of humor, too. We saw in the videotape slapping a handicap sticker against the cockpit window. Humor helps, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Amputees have a strange sense of humor.
My best to you. And we should point out, you're not just a pilot. You fly the Vice President, the First Lady, the Secretary of Defense. Our best to you. And thanks for your time this morning, Colonel.
Okay, Bill. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure having you with us today. Now, Soledad.
Serving Virginia, Maryland, and the district. This is WUSA 9 News at 11 p.m.
He lost his leg, but not his hope. Now an Air Force pilot for the president, determined to fly again after a life-altering motorcycle accident, returns to the skies. Our Leslie Foster was at Andrews Air Force Base for the first flight back in the pilot's seat.
For Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Lurake, there was never a question of if he'd fly again, it was when. And somehow it must have been Providence, because the when came 6 years to the day after his last flight. This is training day. Andrew says it was just like riding a bike. Back behind the gauges in the flight deck, it all came back to him. For 3 hours, he answered questions, crunched numbers, and flew 6 touch-and-go exercises, all before his final landing of the day. And on the ground, there was anticipation as his wife Lisa, his parents, and other family and friends prepared for his arrival.
How was he this morning?
He was fine.
Was he?
I kissed him goodbye and said good luck.
These wounded servicemen and women also came out to wish Andrew well. In Andrew, they see hope and possibility. Andrew says the flight was the easy part. He wasn't prepared for the overwhelming support he received. Support that gave him the determination to return to the cockpit.
To all of you who've been wounded in battle and you want to stay on active duty, your military career isn't over, and I'm proof.
This is not just an achievement for Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Lurake. It's an honor for all wounded men and women who serve this country, an achievement for all amputees. Senior Airman Anthony Pizzifred lost part of his leg after a landmine accident in Afghanistan. He's now been restored to active duty.
It's just amazing. Somebody could stay on active duty with a prosthetic leg.
I was surprised at how well it actually flew. And my first couple landings in the airplane weren't what I thought. I would pound it in the ground or do something. They were all pretty much on center line and decent touchdowns.
Lisa Lurake is glad her husband is sticking with his wings. And she says,
Fly airplanes and let's not ride any motorcycles. We'll go skiing, but no motorcycles.
Andrew is glad to have a seat with this view, one that's now reserved for the first above-the-knee amputee to fly in the Air Force, who hopes he won't be the last. Leslie Foster, 9 News.
Lieutenant Colonel Lurake has 5 more training flights and 1 more check flight before he can fly the line. He'll take that check flight on November 5th. In the meantime, he and his wife Lisa plan to continue their volunteer efforts with wounded servicemen and women.